Welcome to Midwest Paranormal Presents Paranormal Soup. I'm your host, Jason Bland, and tonight we have Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network, which we're streaming out live to right now, and onto Facebook. We have LNM's own Ira Robinson on from Open Eyes Network. He's an author. We're going to talk about his book, Haunting. Totally just butchered the title. Sorry, Ira. We'll get to that. But his experiences in the paranormal. I've been reading some of it. Just started to get into this book, and I can tell you, I can definitely relate to some of his experiences. At the very beginning of the book. So we're going to talk about that. His other adventures into the paranormal. It's going to be interesting. That, of course, we'll have the open lines tonight. You can call into the show on a number of ways through Skype or through phone. We'll give those numbers out later in the show. And like we like to do every Sunday night is the World Wide Web of Weird. So, all right, guys. We'll be with you in just one sec. right, guys, welcome to another night of Paranormal Soup. Like I said, I'm your host, Jason Bland. And tonight we're going to have a very special guest with us is the program director, host on Late Night in Midlands Radio Network. For people that are new to the show or haven't been back in a while, we also stream out, besides to people watching on Facebook, we stream out to Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network. You can find that at latenightinthemidlandsradionetwork.com, or you can find it on TuneIn. You can listen to it on there. They stream out to a lot of places, so it's a great network. I've been proud. We've been doing this for a few months now on there. And I've been wanting to get Ira on. Are you there with us, Ira?
I am indeed. Hello.
Let me see, make sure people can see Ira. Oh, and then I just turned my background off. There we go. Hey, been wanting to do this show for a while. We had a guest cancel, and you offered, and I jumped right on. And I almost thought about not doing a show, taking a break, but I was like, oh, well, now that you offered, I kind of have to, because I've been wanting to do a show. Been watching your Open Eyes Network, Brothers in Arms. You can check this out on YouTube and on Late Night in the Midlands. But let's get the title of the book right, because I totally butchered that at the beginning. What's the title of the book we're discussing tonight?
It's called Haunted, Finding an Explanation for the Unknown.
That's right. Haunted. Find an explanation for the unknown. I just started reading it. I'm on the first chapter. I just got it from him. So thank you for the book. It's perks of being a host. And you've written a lot of books. We'll probably get into a number of topics on those tonight. But like what we like to do every Sunday is Worldwide Web. Before I do that, I want to mention we got our regulars in the panel tonight. We got Jamie D. How you doing tonight, Jamie?
Doing good. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Glad to always have you. We got Jeffrey Chan, our video engineer. How you doing tonight, Jeffrey? Of course, he's not on camera. He's doing good. He's down the little small square there. And then we got Rob Autry, all the way from St. Augustine, Florida. How you doing tonight, Rob? Old City Vapors YouTube.
Wonderful. Glad to be here.
All right. Well, we're gonna have fun tonight. Ira, being part of the network and being a host yourself, I get to lay back a little bit. I'm not as nervous with you. I feel like I just get to have a conversation with you. We don't get to have enough, so that's gonna be awesome. All right. Well, let's go ahead and roll into the World Wide Web of Weird. Tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, I've talked about this on the show before. When people ask on those little Facebook posts, like, put a GIF of your, what movie scarred you the most as a kid. There's one movie that always right away comes to mind, and I always post a GIF of Jaws, something of Jaws. Usually the shark humping the boat scene, but Jaws has always scared the living bejesus out of me. I'm afraid of the water. I'm afraid of sharks. Even in the lake, I live on a big Lake Michigan, and even as a kid, I was afraid of sharks in the lake. That's how much that movie scarred me, even in the YMCA pool. So our first article tonight on the World Wide Web of Weird, this comes from, the Consequences of Sound website. It's called Cape Cod's current great white shark scare is eerily similar to Jaws. Luckily, the role of like a dog's eyes. I see his eyes roll over black. We were repeating all these lines here. We're going to get to the video in just a second here. Well, actually, you know what? I'll read the article. Let's go ahead and witness. This is like something right out of Jaws. What you're going to see is from Cape Cod, and it's a great white shark. They say, luckily, the role of Alex Kittner was played by a seal. If anybody has watched Jaws, it's a little boy that's the worst scene ever. All right, go ahead. Let it roll, Jeff. So these people didn't even know if that was a person or not. A lot of people thought it was a person getting killed. I mean, that water would, besides being turned red, would have turned yellow for me. I would have pissed myself thoroughly. And he comes pretty shallow to the shore here. All right, you can cut the audio there. Cape Cod's current great white shark scare is eerily similar to Jaws. Like I said, luckily the role of Alex Kittner was played by a seal. In the series of events plucked straight out from Jaws, Cape Cod Beach is currently the setting for a great white shark scare. The good news, the attack that prompted the whole thing was on a seal, not an adorable little boy. This shark that attack that got videotaped at NASA, that were very close to shore and very easily could have been a small child and not a seal. That's the really scary thing. That's why you wouldn't. I can't even go to the lake. I can't even go to the lake and watch my kids because I'm also afraid of drowning. My wife has to go without me. I can't. The kids would have no fun. I'm gonna be. What's his name from Jaws? Roy Schreiner, or whatever. On the shore, like, get out of the water. And that'll be me. Shark at the lake. This shark attack that got videotaped at NASA that was very close to shore and very easily could have been a small child and not a seal, said Commissioner Ron Beatty. It's very easy for these sharks to mistake a person for a seal. They are just looking for something to eat. God forbid it's somebody's child, and by that time it's too late. We can't wait for that. Exactly. Nobody go in the water. Footage posted online, nothing to quell the community's fears as it shows an expanding pool of blood and beachgoers recoiling and running away in fear. The beach was temporarily closed shortly after. BD, no doubt a stand-in for Jaws' mayor, Larry Vaughn, is proposing a shark hazard mitigation strategy near the area's popular beaches, a process that would involve catching the sharks with baited drum lines and shooting them dead. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, he would have denied it first if he was the mayor from Jaws. He'd be like, oh, there's no shark. That was just a seal committing suicide in the water. From my viewpoint, based upon the sharp increase in shark-related attacks and incidents around Cape Cod in recent years, there is a clear present danger to human life as a result of this growing problem, Beatty said. Though the Boston Herald notes he didn't cite any statistics. Of course not. Greg Scamole, a state division's marine fishery biologist in this scenario, Richard Dreyfuss's character, is skeptical as he says, wondering what the shark hazard is, as sharks feed on seals almost every day. Scamole also notes that the last attack in Massachusetts was in 2012, and the last fatal attack goes all the way back to 1936. Between those years, he elaborates, I don't know of any white shark attacks. Whether the shark hazard mitigation strategy actually rolls out depends on whether or not Beatty finds his quint. Watch his eyes roll over the... So that's my favorite scene in the movie when Quint tells the story of the Indianapolis. One of the best scenes in a movie, and scared the literal crap out of me as a kid. Just more than just the animatronic, really crappy animatronic Jaws. Of course, Jaws 3, the animatronics were just awful. I was just like a fish floating in water. Like it was like just held still as they came in slow motion. Never mind. I love all the Jaws movies though.
What to do to your fair Spanish ladies.
I saw up to number 3 in the theaters, and yeah, they scared the ever living bejesus out of me.
Remember, number 3 was the 3D one. So they try to boost it all, make it all look 3D, and the shark's like coming at the screen, like
the harpoon.
But it's not like doing anything. It's like a dead shark coming at the screen because they couldn't like make it move. Just like coming, and they're all slowly like screaming silently in slow mo. Yeah, and I'm also that bad father scarred his own child by letting him watch the first opening scene of Jaws because he was so obsessed with sharks. And after he saw it, he went into his room, got a stuffed shark, and threw it and said, "I hate sharks." That's like the worst scene out of all the movies. Is the very first scene. That's like the one that would scar you the most. Okay, moving on. We're only on the first story. Oh my god. Okay, let's go on. All right, this one I'm always find these really interesting. This is a Pennsylvania couple sees Jesus in sonogram of baby daughter. I've seen a lot of people saying they're getting images and sonograms. I even asked when I had both my kids sonograms. My wife's like, "Oh, here he goes," but she's interested too. I asked sonogram lady, "Do you guys ever see images of anything or anybody saying?" And she's like, "No." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." I was so disappointed. I was hoping to hear some cool stories, but you see people say they get these images, and of course pareidolia plays into this. And this Pennsylvania couple sees Jesus in this sonogram. A Pennsylvania couple said they saw a religious sign in their baby sonogram just days before giving birth. Zach Smith and his fiancée, Alicia Zeke, and I forgot to say this is from Fox News, went on for an ultrasound ahead of the birth of their baby girl, and what they saw in the sonogram was unbelievable. I blinked a lot to kind of make sure I was really seeing it, Zeke said. This is distinct. I mean, there's another face looking at my daughter. The expectant parents said, while they aren't very religious, they saw a man dressed in a robe with a crown of thorns looking at their baby. Well, I guess, yeah, you can kind of see the crown of thorns. He's got that zombie black eyes thing I don't like. It almost brought tears to my eyes, Smith said. I was speechless. I just couldn't believe it. I really didn't believe what I was seeing. I think it looks like Bob Seger. I don't. That's what I was
Or
thinking.
Charles Manson.
It kind of looks like a Cro-Magnon or something. I don't know.
I swear it looks like Bob Seger, like, you know, at his piano. Like,
La
he's like,
rock.
night moves. It looks like Bob Seger to me. That's the first thing I saw when I saw it. Okay, but it's really cool. I like that stuff.
I always have to ask when it comes to these, pictures of Jesus and that kind of thing. Okay, are they referring to the commonly accepted image of Jesus that's actually Cesare Borgia, or are they referring to the actual Jewish guy that looked in,
or Middle Eastern looking? I don't know.
Kind of guy,
It looks like Bob Seger to me. America. No, okay. All right, so next up here on Unexplained Mysteries, this video has been really viral, and it's really cool, but I have some thoughts about it. This comes from unexplainedmysteries.com. Ghost caught on security camera in Clovis. This is from Friday, August 25th. Brianna Hernandez and her family captured the mysterious image on their home CCTV security system. The anomalous visitor, which can be viewed at around 55-second mark on the video below, appears to move from left to right across the frame before disappearing from sight. As soon as I saw it, my hair stood up. I've never seen anything like it before, said Brianna. My husband happened to look over right when the image popped up. You can see it 100%, and you can see the movement of either arms or legs with the body as it goes by. You see, it's going to, right now we're seeing the interview. This is from Fox News. Here it is. It runs across for people listening on L&M. It looks like a very grainy video footage. You'll see this guy run off, but and of course on here we don't give it the best justice. Go check this out on our YouTube channel, on my playlist, Paranormal Soup, or YouTube channel. Go to World Wide Web Weird playlist. You'll find this video. They'll show him in their inside, him getting up and suddenly seeing this on his camera. You can see him reacting. This is definitely, in my opinion, not a hoax or any kind. But you see this guy run by, and it's like he disappears out of the, not just disappears out of the frame. It's like he kind of like disintegrates or vanishes. This is, of course, IR light, not a very good one. And when you watch it, I don't know, my opinion is, it could just be, it looks like he disappears, but it's just the lack of IR light he's moving
it's
out
almost
of.
like just going into the shadows and therefore not being picked up by the camera anymore.
Right, and it looks like he disappears, but really it's just the lack of any IR light hitting that area. Because I've seen that. I've seen that kind of on IR footage before, people going by and passing out of the IR light, and it almost looks like they disappear.
It's creepy either way. I'd question who the heck is running through my yard here, but
that would be the part I'd be worried about. It is image. The only way I'd be able to give this any real deep thought, is this paranormal or not? Because the image, even when he's up close, is a bit odd. You can see the cars pretty clearly, but that's where the IR light's hitting the most, and they're reflecting it back. I don't know. His legs kind of seem. I don't know. I'd have to see how the IR was with somebody else running in front of it. It has to be debunked. Somebody else needs to run in front of their camera at that time of night, see what it looks like. That's the only way to debunk it. These people are just regular people. They're not ghost hunters or people to debunk stuff, but I'd love to see somebody do that. Okay, moving on here. I'm a geek, and I love all things spaceship-wise. People that my friends know me, I build 3D spaceships on games like Minecraft and Lego Worlds. I'm a Trekkie. I love spaceships, and I know everybody says NASA's, they got real, they have a secret space program and all. NASA's just a front, whatever, but I still like spaceships. And NASA has unveiled its first space plane since the shuttle. This comes from the Huffington Post. Since the retirement of the space shuttle, NASA's never stopped looking for a way to safely bring back the reusable space plane. Well, that search is over now, because this could well be the space shuttle of the future. Excuse me, frog in my throat. It's called the Dream Chaser, and it's been developed by private space organization Sierra Nevada Corporation. While it's just a quarter of the size of the original space shuttle, the Dream Chaser can still carry the same number of passengers, and in addition can be docked at the International Space Station for far longer. While some may be disappointed that the Dream Chaser isn't developed internally by NASA, it's fair to say that since it started openly looking for contractors, the number of new space vehicles has increased exponentially. From Blue Origin's Shepard's rocket to the space. Oh, hey, and then my article goes crazy on me. That's what happens when you read on your phone. The Blue Origin Shepard rocket to SpaceX Falcon 9, heavy lifting rocket, and the Dragon spacecraft, the only current rocket that NASA is working on is a spiritual successor to the Saturn V is the SLS. The Dream Chaser will come in 2 variants, allowing either manned or unmanned flights, making it more than capable of a cargo vessel. So they can send this thing up with nobody on it and bring cargo to the International Space Station. So it's a drone spaceship, too. Basically flies itself, you know. That's what they're saying. I'm getting out of that article. But I love spaceships. I geek out when I see this stuff. And, you know, we need to stop hitching rides. And we need a space shuttle, damn it.
It's really shameful that we're relying on the Russians to get us up into space when we had an absolutely wonderful, viable space program here in the States.
Yeah, exactly. And, hey, who knows? We might have a secret space program, too, that, like, you know. It's totally Star Trek.
I've often wondered about the armies, the DoD's space. What was it at the X-38? Is it the
that flew around for like a year?
Yeah, and nobody knows what happened. It was on a top secret mission, and nobody knows what anything was.
Yeah,
what the heck
was doing up there for a year? Yeah,
yeah.
We've talked about that before. All right, next up on the World Wide Web of Weird, this is weird looking for sure. This comes from the express.co.uk. Monkey pig. Yes, farmer shocked as now gives birth to a piglet that looks like a chimpanzee. And you know, I was criticized by somebody for showing these kind of things on the World Wide Web of Weird. It's just a mutated animal. That's not paranormal. I'm not saying everything I do in here is paranormal. It's just weird. It's called the World Wide Web of Weird, people. Weird. This is weird. Tell me a monkey pig is not weird. It ain't called the Paranormal World Wide Web of Weird. It's the World Wide Web of Weird. Monkey pig. Farmer shot.
You just made me think of Seinfeld. Remember Pigman?
Oh, yeah. I actually think of South Park, I think now. Man, bear, pig. Yes. All right. A horrified farmer could not believe his eyes when his sow gave birth to a piglet that looks like a chimpanzee and appears to have just one eye in the middle of its face. I mean, really, it is a cyclops. It is. The strange-looking creature was born in San Juan. The San Juan, this is a really messed up article. Martinez area of western Cuba, the Pinar del Rio. The brown piglet has a face and ears just like a chimp, while its 9 pink siblings are completely normal. Poor little guy. Its terrified owner called out to the vet as soon as she saw the bizarre little pig. And villagers have been flocking to see the unusual creature has been held by its owners so that it can suckle at its mother's teeth. Yeah, well, the writer's like, I have to do a sentence where I say suckle at the mother's teeth. All right, the vet has taken blood samples to investigate how the abnormal piglet developed in the way that it has. Videos and photographs proving popular viewers after being shared online. Yeah, of course, everybody, this stuff spreads totally viral. It's like, what? A pig chimpanzee? A chimpanzee? I gotta see this. The show farmer's wife holding the strange-looking little pig by its front legs, so it's standing up on its back legs, accumulating its chip-like appearance. The woman is also holding the piglet in her hand so it can feed alongside its brothers and sisters. You wonder, the mother's like, get that thing away from me. Or is it like, oh man, it is creepy. It is creepy. All right,
it almost looks more like a fruit bat or something like that in the face.
It does, yeah, something like that. But that middle eye, that cyclops eye, man, whew, that's one weird pig, monkey pig. It's weird. Okay, let's move on. This is unexplained mysteries as well. Orange UFO sighted over Somerset, England. Peculiar aerial phenomenon was captured on camera by Jeremy Lee Fever on Saturday evening. Consisting of several orange spheres of light, the UFO appeared to trail across the sky and change direction multiple times. I say when I first watched this, I thought, oh, it's a mortar flare, but watch. Because I've seen some people mistake mortar flares for UFOs, but look, it turns. It makes a 360 turn. I've never seen anything like it before, said Lefevre. It sounds like, I don't know how to, Lefevre? Is that how he says his name? Because that'd be awesome. It really caught my eye and went on for quite some time before flying into the distance towards Longleat. I probably butchered that too. It was emitting green and red colors and looked to me like it could have been fireworks attached to a drone. That's one of the theories I thought too. It's still very much unidentified though. The phenomenon is certainly not the only thing that had been spotted in the skies over the area. Some experts have gone as far to describe the nearby town of Warminster as Britain's UFO capital on account of the phenomenon first encountered in the mid-1960s that became known as the Warminster Thing. I'm probably butchering that, sorry. Said local rambler Nigel Vile. Strange noises were heard in the skies above the town, equally strange shimmering lights were observed in the vicinity. So, I mean, shimmering lights, I don't know. Like I said,
Okay,
first I thought.
did you see that little spot right where it starts to do, okay, the lights stop, but then it almost looks like a little like airplane starts to then do the loop-de-loop? Wait.
Like right toward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm starting to think the theory of maybe somebody flying with some sort of
Like a drone, yeah, would be a good
something on it
Man,
because
it's got some
it's
heat
too
coming off it, though.
erratic. But watch the way when it starts to go, and then it looks like once
Yeah,
it all
there's a-
stops, wait, and then it'll kind of do a little like loop right there, like a little loop-de-loop,
Yeah.
and it doesn't. Yeah, it's
I also thought
very
there's a-
strange.
I also know there's skydivers that do these stunts where they have all the flares and stuff, but I don't know. This is pretty weird.
I think the most impressive thing about the article is that they refer to somebody as being a local rambler. I, from now on, want to be called a local rambler.
I'm just your local rambler.
I'm your local rambler.
Have you seen the guys that actually get the drones and they ski behind the drone and the drone carries them and they have like the rockets come out of their boots?
Oh yeah, I've seen that. And this could be something similar. Like, I mean, it's like a rocket coming out the back. Whatever they had to have been pretty. Had a lot of flameage going on, man, because it's a lot. It looks pretty hot.
I think it's the pig monkey that grew bat wings and he's looking for sharks over the water.
Or somebody maybe testing out jetpacks too. That's a possibility.
Yeah, it didn't go well. It doesn't look like. I don't know. Or maybe it was really, really, really bad aliens, because that's the next article. Bad aliens.
Maybe they were drinking and driving, drinking and flying.
And then decided to go put a swastika in a cornfield. Yes, you heard that right. That's the last one up on the World Wide Web of Weird. This comes from alienUFOsightings.com. Mystery 180-foot wide Nazi crop circle appears. They have to call it Nazi. Appears overnight in Wiltshire field, sparking alien fears for conspiracy theorists. We'll get to it in the article. Did an evil race of Nazi aliens land on Earth and carve the swastika-shaped crop circle? No, of course not. But nevertheless, it led to a pretty interesting discussion online. The enormous symbol today, synonymous with Adolf Hitler's fascist dictatorship of the 1930s and 40s, was discovered in the field of Beckhampton, Wiltshire. Drone footage shows how the intricate design bears a worrying resemblance to the cross-arms insignia adopted by the Nazis, which will forever be a chilling emblem from the far-right extremism and anti-Semitism. But before Hitler came to power, the swastika meant something completely different. Ancient Mysteries author Hugh Newman, who captured the footage, spotted a Facebook post not long after the crop circle was cut. The 43-year-old said, "I rushed there to check it out, and I met the farmer there, and he was keen for me to go into the field. I flew my drone over it and got some good shots. The big trouble of the year is who cuts these crop circles, because sometimes people don't have a clue how they ended up there, and the farmer didn't know. He didn't say much to me, but he was a bit concerned by the symbol, and he saw the negative connotation of it when he realized what it looked like. The ancient Sanskrit Savistika, but that symbolized auspiciousness and well-being and was used by the Hindu, Buddhists, and Jains for centuries. The symbol can often be seen on Buddhist statues going back thousands of years, as well on temples and houses, Mr. Newman said. Originally an equatorial cross with its four arms bent at 90 degrees, it was adopted by some Western countries in the early 20th century as a symbol of good luck. But with the arms reversed and tipped to a 45-degree angle, it was an emblem that would later become the trademark of fascism. Further differences are the ancient symbol has dots in the gaps between the lines and has round edges compared to the blunt edges used by the Nazi flag. Mr. Newman added, "You get teams of hoaxers going around doing cross circles without anyone's permission, and if they got caught, then they'd be prosecuted for it. But some of the circles they cut are so advanced and difficult to do that it's actually land art. Conspiracy theorists hoping to discuss whether a fascist alien race was sending down a single of intent will be disappointed. So insisted, they put a trailer of the movie, I don't know if anybody's seen it, called Iron Sky.
Iron Sky. I was going to bring up Iron Sky. Fabulous movie. Absolutely.
Yes. Oh, I highly recommend. I think it's still on Netflix. You should. But bad aliens, no. It was, the swastika was not originally a Nazi emblem. It was Hindu, Sanskrit,
for thousands upon thousands of years. Absolutely. Go and learn the history of it, people, because it's a very fascinating one.
But maybe this is aliens. Maybe with everything happening right now in the world, or in America, with us taking down Confederate statues and all that stuff, maybe they're just trying to add some symbolism here, like, hey, this meant peace at one time, Yep.
And not only that, but the same area that the swastika first came from was also a very major hotbed for UFO activity, apparently, as well. So
Yeah. I always thought the stupas were basically UFOs, and then they had to say it on Ancient Aliens. But then it's like, oh, darn, no. All right, guys. Well, that's it for the World Wide Web of Weird. We're going to come back here with Ira, and we're going to talk about his book. And I'm already losing again. Haunted or haunting? Is it haunted or haunting?
haunted.
Haunted. All right. Let's go ahead and roll into that. If I can get my computer to cooperate with me. What the heck? That's the kind of day I'm having. Technical problems. No. All right, yeah, we're going to go ahead and roll into our commercial break here. For people on Facebook, you'll hear some quiet because we play music out the Late Night in the Midlands radio network. If you have trouble watching on Facebook, you can listen to the show at least on Late Night in the Midlands radio network's website or on TuneIn. Go check it out. You'll hear the music and stuff you can't hear on Facebook. All right, so when we get back, we're going to talk about Ira Robinson haunted. Well, I have one of those nights. My brain's just going... All right, guys, be with you in just a sec.
Why subscribe to Late Night in the Midlands, you ask? Well, I'll tell you why. Late Night in the Midlands covers everything, and through the thousands of expert guests who have joined Michael Vera on his show, come pieces of the big puzzle, which started many years ago. Michael and his guests reveal information dating back to the beginning of time. To this very moment, Michael Vera not only brings you the best guests with the best information, but Michael is not afraid to call out those who are less than honest. You see, in this day and age, we need a radio show we can count on and a radio host we can trust to expose the truth one show at a time. So become a late nighter and subscribe now. Talk radio like no other. Late Night in the Midlands, bringing the truth back to talk radio.
If you find yourself angry over the wealth gap and the way the financial system and banks are set up, or you find yourself looking for non-genetically modified foods because you refuse to consent to being a science experiment to Big Bio and Big Chem, or perhaps you have abandoned your trust in government and religion altogether, then you might be an RDS, a radical danger to society, otherwise known as a terrorist. Other possible terrorist activities include, but are not limited to, taking pictures, coughing, sneezing, wheezing, smiling, not bathing, listening to the secret teachings, asking questions to authorities, distrust in authority, owning a gun, reading history books, reading non-Keynesian economic books, listening to Late Night in the Midlands, turning off your television, going outside, water purification, having goosebumps, laughing, wearing jeans, purchasing ammunition, purchasing medical supplies, listening to Open Eyes Radio, purchasing bulk food, noticing geoengineering trails, refusing to pay back your student loans, informing others, breathing, listening to the Red Pill reality show, blinking, thinking, farting, choking, and sleeping. Other forms of terrorism include disassociation with all political parties, protesting, freely speaking your mind, freely expressing your opinions, and in some cases that are extremely severe, paying with cash, being concerned about food, water, vaccines, and believing that the medical industry and military run tests on unsuspecting citizens regardless of the evidence to prove its existence. If you don't want to be an RDS, a radical danger to society, then turn on your television, get a credit card, buy the 13th season of Honey Boo Boo on Blu-ray, get fast food for dinner, and stop purifying your water and looking for clean food, or you may be diagnosed with orthorexia nervosa too. For more ways to become an RDS, a radical danger to society, simply tune into the L&M radio network, now 24 hours a day.
All right, we're coming back tonight with our guest, Ira Robinson. Some of you guys that are listeners at Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network know Ira very well from his shows, Brothers in Arms, Open Eyes Network. He's the program director for Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network. Awesome guy. I've been so excited to get him on. We're going to talk tonight about his book, Haunted, Finding an Explanation for the Unknown. And a lot of personal experiences I see he's talking about in this book from what I've started, and man, I'm relating to it. So let's go ahead and get to our guest. All right, we're back with our guest, Ira Robinson. How you doing tonight, Ira?
I am doing really great. Thank you so much for having me on tonight. I definitely appreciate it.
Oh, we're getting a little breakup from you now suddenly.
Are we? Oh, no. That's terrible.
Uh-oh.
I hear it ever so slightly.
Really? Okay, hold on. Let me see.
Kind of popcorn.
Yeah.
Okay, is that any better for you?
It's still doing it. Darn it. It was not doing this the whole time of the show. Before the show. We were on for like an hour before, and now your computer's going, what? It's not awful, but it's like a little popcorny in there sometimes.
A little bit. Oh.
There it does it.
Why don't I disconnect and reconnect with you guys?
Yeah, hey, what browser are you using?
Chrome.
That's why. Can you do Internet Explorer?
I can try.
Try, because I've had this problem with Chrome. It likes to not work with its own Google. on a Windows operating system, most times problem.
Go figure. Let me give you a call right back then.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to wait for Ira. How are you doing tonight, Jamie and Rob?
That's Windows for you.
Yeah, it figures. It was the whole time. We were on with almost an hour before the show, just talking and hanging out. And he sounded perfect. And the moment we start the show, he started getting that crackle. Remember, I got that first. We had Nick Redfern on, and I decided to try a new computer with Windows 10 that I updated it to, and got on Google Chrome, and sure, guess what? It started doing right what it was doing to Ira. It would go in and out. It'd be doing it, and then wouldn't do it, and it was doing it, ruined half the show until it finally stopped doing it. But, yeah, how does Chrome make something that ends up not working with their own damn thing? Google Hangouts, Google Chrome, but you can't use it because they don't want to make their stuff work with Windows 10 very well. We're going to talk tonight, though, about when Ira gets back. Let's keep our fingers crossed. I should keep an eye on my messenger in case he has any trouble. about his book. I just started reading it. It's Haunted, Finding an Explanation for the Unknown. I'm sorry I butchered that at the beginning of the show. Completely. I didn't have my notes up. All right. Here comes Ira, I hope. Fingers crossed, people. Fingers crossed.
Drum roll, please.
Drum roll.
Testing. Is this any better for you?
So far, so good.
All right, great.
Are
Sorry
you
about that.
I'm curious. Are you an Internet Explorer? Did you get that to work?
I am an Internet Explorer, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I had to do. It does not. It's so crazy. Technology. Gotta hate it.
I've never had that issue before, but you know what? I'm not surprised given the topic of tonight, because spirits are absolutely electromagnetic based, and whenever I talk about this subject, they're always hitting. You know, they're always coming in and disturbing the energies that are surrounding everything. So it's not surprising, you know.
Do you think that's a good? You know, we do the ITC show on here. We've had definite technical difficulties on ITC show nights.
Exactly.
Where we try to talk to the dead. Do you think they're trying to stop us from talking about it?
You know, I don't think they're trying to stop us. I think what's happening is that, okay, in my own experiences of things, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, a little bit, but
you brought up a good subject.
Exactly. But in my experiences of things, they're more attuned to when people are talking about them. See, what they're doing, at least in my experiences, and I've had, I would say it's like maybe 80% of the time it's this way. Okay. So there's been about 20% that have been in the opposite direction of things, but about 80% of the time or so, they want their stories told. They want to have that communication. They want to be able to get their story out. And if you're speaking about the dead, if you're, concentrating on one specifically, for instance, they will come. I mean, if they're around, they will come, and they will try to get your attention. So those that aren't sensitive to it, that don't maybe recognize when that kind of thing is happening, they'll never really know. But for those that are sensitive to it and realize it, it's like, whoa, okay, wait a minute, I know there's somebody here, you know?
Exactly.
So
yeah, exactly.
I think that's what's occurring with it.
Well, tell people a little bit about yourself. I know there's new people to who Ira Robinson is, because they haven't gone to Late Night, and you should go to Late Night in the Midlands and check out all the great hosts there. Michael Vera, the owner of the network, Ira Robinson. You should check out the shows. There's some really good stuff there. So tell them a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in the paranormal.
Sure. So I've actually been involved with the paranormal my whole life. To me, the paranormal is normal. That's the phrase that I always use, and it really is the truth.
Yes.
I've had these experiences from the moment that I can remember forward, and I'll give you this is going to sound really weird, and I don't talk about this very often, so you guys are getting kind of a special occasion with me here. When I was born, my mom had a lot of issues in her uterus. She had a 10-pound blood tumor, a 7-pound blood tumor, 5-pound blood tumor, multiple smaller blood tumors, along with me. Also in there, though, was a twin. And the twin didn't become viable. It was not an appropriate environment for two to be able to form properly, is basically what it comes down to. So essentially, this body absorbed that one, which happens sometimes.
It's like Stephen King's Darkman.
A little bit, yeah. I guess you could say that, yeah. Up until the age of 7, the other person was in control, had control of this body. And at the age of 7, my first memory is looking in a mirror and saying to myself over and over, I'm Ira. My name is Ira. This is who I am. I'm Ira. Until that time, I had blonde hair and blue eyes. Now, your hair color can change.
Oh, yeah.
And it can change over time, especially when you're younger. However, by the age of 7 years old, your eye color's set. You're not going to change your eye color. At this point in time, for those that are watching the video, for instance, I have black hair. Well, it's grayed at this point because of these are my battle scars. But I had black hair and brown eyes, no blue eyes. Right. So my eye color changed, my hair color changed, and for a while, I never knew this was happening. Okay, I never knew that what I'm about to tell you was actually occurring. But we found out because of my wife Jolene that something else was going on. There have been times in my life where I've had, occurrences where the passage of time seemed to be odd. Like either I've blacked out or something along that line. And I've apparently had conversations with people, full-on conversations with people that I have absolutely no memory of.
Dark.
Now,
that was the name of the novel. You make me think of it because that's like what's reminding me of. Sorry, Stephen King fan.
Oh, that's
sorry.
okay. That's all good. I'm a Stephen King fan too, but I've actually never read that one. Oddly enough, isn't that the one about the author too?
Yeah, he's an
Isn't
author.
that the one about the author too? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, go figure. See,
I'm all for him. But go on. Sorry.
So, with the situation that's been going on, apparently, and this is what's been discovered over time, this other person, my brother, takes control, and when he's in control of things, according to him, he blacks me out. He basically disconnects me because he's closer to the other side than I am. And the way he explains it is that basically the two souls combined together. It's not that there are two separate souls that are here, but it's one soul that was originally two.
You're a twisted soul.
Yes, exactly. And when he's in control, he disconnects me because according to him, with him being closer to the other side,
right,
if I was to be fully exposed to what's there, I would be so overcome that I wouldn't be able to function. And there have been a couple of times where he's sort of opened up the door just slightly, and I've been like in tears for hours afterwards because it's just such an overwhelming amount of love, joy, passion, on and on and on, is just boom, it's right there, and it's all encompassing essentially.
So he's now, not like so when he does take control, when he does take control, though, it's not like the jackal and hide thing, right? He's
no. And if you didn't know that this was going on, you'd never realize it. Jolene noticed, though, that when she was having conversations with me, I wasn't remembering the conversations, and I would maybe bring something up, and she said, "No, wait a minute, you told me something else." Okay, now with this going on, what basically he came out at one point in time with her, and because she's able to bring him out like in a big way, and it's really weird because she gets a big kick out of it. She's like, "I'm married to two people. I'm married to two husbands."
Right.
And, but they're both in the same body, and it doesn't really matter anyways. But with it all going on, he told her that the reason why he stuck around is because he's sort of acting as a guide for people hidden in plain sight, essentially, that he's trying to pass information on about like what's on the other side, the meaning of life, so on and so forth. And he gets very passionate and loves to talk about these things. And so when he's out, though, I'm not aware of it. And she ends up having to either record the conversations or she tries her best to remember it if it just kind of comes random. But yeah, it's a really strange situation. And until even just about 10 years ago, I had no idea that any of it was going on. So
what was it that really awoken you to it?
It was her. And
her?
Because she noticed that these things were going on. She noticed that there were like certain mannerisms that I would have, a different type of conversation in the voice. I have a little bit of a stutter, and he doesn't. The way that he holds his eyes open, like his eyes are always brilliantly held open, but my eyes are mostly squinted all the time because that's the only way that I can see. And light kills me. It hurts me to see light.
So she can see the physical difference because your eyes are completely open, which would kill you.
Right. And she knows that would be extraordinarily painful for me to do for anything longer than a minute worth of time. And sometimes she's seeing it happening for hours and hours. And it's just really weird. So with all of that going on, again, I say the paranormal is kind of normal with me because I've had a lot of exposure to things over my life that the average person, I think, really wouldn't. The average person doesn't have that kind of situation going on where you've got like essentially a dead guy living in you, So
yeah. Closest thing I can relate is I had a sister that was a half sister. My mom miscarried late in, and she's like, "Who are you talking to?" I'm like, "The little girl." And I remember a little girl. I remember clear as day. I thought there was really a little girl where we were living at that time, and then she went to the psychic and she goes, "That little girl your son talks to," which my mom hadn't told this woman anything. She says that was your unborn daughter that he's seeing and talking to. And I remember a little girl. When I asked my mom, we talked about this, there was no little girl we were living at that time that I remember playing with. There was no little girl there. So, it's weird. Like you said, paranormal is the normal for us.
Yeah, it is. It is. The reason we call him Aura, just to give a name, is I'm Ira, he's Aura. That's how he refers to himself. And kind of Jolene said, "What do I call you?" And he's like, "I don't care what you call me. I don't really exist, So and she's like, "Well, I got to call you something." And she said, "Well, what about Aura?" And he said, "That's fine. Whatever you want to do, So, but he said that the reason why he was here to begin with, this was originally his body. And this was not my original one. But basically, we carried each other through the birthing process. And he maintained control for the first 7 years because our father was a severe alcoholic. And one of the reasons why he was here was to get him to stop being an alcoholic abuser. He accomplished that. By the age of 7, he was able to convince Dad to go to church, go to AA, get off the liquor, and completely changed his life around. He was a brilliant person after he stopped drinking, and he had been a drinker all of his life. Wow. So once that was accomplished, he said, "Well, my mission's done here. I did what I did to be here." And he was, kind of scheduled to die is essentially what it comes down to. Instead of doing that, however, I think, at least according to him, I don't remember this, of course, but at least according to him, we basically had an agreement that he would step back and I would then take control because I wanted to be here, So there was one day that a scheduled death was to occur. And essentially, it comes down to this. At the age of 7, we lived in a large trailer park, and there were 2 children's playgrounds in this trailer park. We lived across the street from one of them. My mom, my dad, a bunch of friends were standing outside talking, and I asked my mom if I could go across the street to play in the playground, and she said, "Sure." I started to run across the street, and suddenly out of nowhere, a car comes barreling down the road directly towards me. And it was going to hit, and I remember this part distinctively because out of nowhere then a flash occurred. And I don't want to say it was a flash of light, but it was reality kind of blurred for a moment.
Right.
And something literally grabbed hold of me, picked me up and threw me back across the street into the waiting arms of my mom, who was just opening up her mouth to start screaming about me being hit by the car. There was no damage to me, no injury to me. The guy slammed on the brakes and stopped his car, and he swore to God he hit me because I flew across the road. Right. And I was that close to it. So something occurred there where, I was saved. I attributed it maybe to an angel or something like that, maybe was the occurrence. But essentially what it comes down to is at that moment in time, that was the scheduled death for him. And I took over.
Yeah. And that's when you had that, I'm Ira.
That's when the memory of the I'm Ira and everything happened. And so it's like I've got this memory that's there, but it doesn't feel like it's mine. Like the flash memory that's there. It's there, but I'm completely disconnected from it. So I'm wondering, basically, looking back on it, if that was the moment that he stepped back and that's when I stepped forward. That's the best way I can put it. It's like there's a doorway in the back of the brain, and when he wants to, come out and talk,
right.
The door closes or the door opens, and suddenly I'm blinded or something like that, and it disconnects me, and then he comes in.
It has to make you, Ira. It has to make you think back once you discovered this. Till all the years, you were previously married before, what he was doing, not in an evil or bad way, but, there were conversations you never knew about with other people.
Yeah, there many conversations. It got to the point where I was sitting there wondering if I was insane, if I was crazy, because I distinctively remember never having a conversation with somebody, and they're like, "No, you did." There are times where people will come in and wake me up, for instance, and I will have no memory of what happened for the next 5 hours. That's because he's, maintaining control at that point. So it's a very bizarre kind of a situation. And again, it's not something that I talk about very often, because then we start getting people of, well, you're just crazy. You've got this psychosis, multiple personality disorder, all that kind of stuff. And no, I mean, there's no real explanation, standard wise, because I go back to, again, when I was a kid, explain then how I had blonde hair and blue eyes until I took control. And then I had brown hair and brown eyes. Yes, the hair color can change, but by the time you're 7 years old, your eye colors are set. You see what I mean?
Hold on a second. I'm getting a little bit of echo. I don't know who it's coming from.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Now I don't. I hear it a little bit. Sorry. I was just trying to figure out where it was coming from.
Okay.
Only one that's not muted is you and Jamie. I don't know. I don't see it spiking on
I'm
either.
muted. I'm muted.
Yeah, you're muted too.
Yeah.
So why am I getting echo?
That's really weird.
So weird. I have no idea.
I'm not hearing it on my end, so I'm not sure if it's coming out over the stream or not.
Okay.
I'm hearing it after Jason talking.
If you're not hearing it, it might be coming from your end somehow. I don't know how, though. You got headphones on.
Shoot. Yeah, I'm not sure how that would be. I'd never experienced that with any of the shows. Again, bizarre problems. I never have these issues with my shows and anybody else's shows either. Really bizarre.
Yeah. I'm getting it bad now.
Do you want me to try disconnecting and calling back again?
No, I hope not. Okay, seems like it's going away. Okay, you're doing most of the talking anyways.
Okay. Anyways, so that's sort of a quick and dirty background on my experience as far as that side of thing goes. Now, I'm also an experiencer of seeing ghosts, hearing ghosts. I can feel when they're around. I know when they're there, even if they try to hide themselves from me by not showing themselves or making any kind of noise or anything like that. I can still feel when they're there. And again, I think that some of the reason why that's occurring is maybe because of this other situation that I've got going on. I've got this thing that's inside of me that's closer to the other side. So maybe they're getting attracted to, that kind of energy that's there. Because, maybe he's having a conversation with him when I'm, not aware of it. I don't know.
As benign
but
as
I
he
definitely
might
have
be,
a lot of experience.
As benign as he might be, that's got to be a little bit scary.
It's a little creepy, what? because I got to wonder. Okay, he made a joke at one point in time with Jolene. He's like, because I've got 3 kids, and he said, you should ask Ira sometime what he thinks, or if he thinks that any of his kids are actually his. Very bizarre. Yeah, exactly. And again, Jolene just, she plays with it fully because she loves the idea of, it's kind of that, ooh, I've got 2 husbands and haha, kind of thing.
Yeah.
She gets a big kick out of it. So, but yeah, I mean, it's just kind of one of those bizarre kind of situations that not many people experience. I'm not special with it or anything like that. It was just kind of an accident of fate or maybe, again, a part of a lesson plan or something like that for me, to go through and that's sort of how he explains it, is that, there were certain things that I came here to learn, and he's sort of facilitating the learning of those things. And it's sort of a way for him to learn what he needs to be able to move fully on into the next level of things when he finally also exits. So, it's sort of a way for both of us to get like a final push in, I guess you could say.
And it sounds like he's stuck here until you're done.
That's pretty much the situation. Yeah. At least as far as I can tell. Yeah. Yeah. So it's very strange. And again, a lot of people are very poo-poo on the idea and everything, but we're here about the paranormal. And I guess that's the most paranormal thing that I can say has ever happened to me, is that I live
pretty paranormal.
Yeah. So, but as far as other experiences goes, I've experienced a lot of different things, and we can go into those as we go through the rest of the show. As to who else I am an author. I've written 6 books that have been published. One of them is Haunted, Finding an Explanation for the Unknown. That's one of the reasons why I came on the show tonight, is to talk about that one. But I've also written other books as well. I have When Good Relationships Go Bad. That book is designed to teach people how much effect emotional addictions are having on their lives, and what they can do to maybe get out of the patterns that they've fallen into, so that they can transform themselves into a brighter, better person, essentially, is what it comes down to, so that they can find relationships that they're not constantly getting stuck in, where they're toxic and, you know, just all that kind of crud that they fall into. Because emotions are as addictive as heroin. You know, they really are. And we always seem to glom or gravitate towards relationships that are the worst for us, because we want to experience those negative emotions. So in that book, I really go into detail about how that is, and like what some of the reasons why, you know, it's happening. Because as an empath, we mentioned that a little bit earlier, as an empath as well, one of the things that I firmly believe I have that for is to help people heal from emotional traumas that they've had in their lives. And writing that book is sort of an extension of that. So I've got 2 other nonfiction books that are out. Both of them are about making money. One of them is How to Make Money Without Having a Job. And the other one is How to Get More Customers to Come to Your Business. So both of those are sort of one-off things that I did because I saw people needing help. And the one was a #1 bestseller on Amazon. So
Which one?
How to Make Money Without Having a Job.
I'm sure a lot of people would want that book.
Yeah, and I got a lot of messages from people saying that it literally transformed their lives. They
awesome.
They were able to find, you know, peace basically because of the advice that I gave in that book. But I'm also a fiction author, and that's primarily what I do. I'm a fiction author. I write science fiction and fantasy books. I have 2 that are out right now. One of them is Illusions and Dreams, the Ultimate Collection. It's a collection of short stories and novellas that I've written. The other one is Silent Steps, the first book in the Takik cycle. And that one sort of got written because of my son that's autistic, who also is an experiencer of the paranormal in a big way as well, which we can go into in a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
But that book, I'm very proud of it. It came out last year. I love it. I have the sequel of it written already. It's called Voices Carry, and that one should be published by the end of the year. I've got another one that is
you got another one.
And that one is called Penitence. And this story is a very bizarre one. It's all about abuse, obsession, true love, and demonic possession and abuse at the hands of Christians. So, you know, it's a very bizarre sort of book. I guess you could say the closest genre for it would be a mind thriller sort of thing, psychological horror type of a book. And that one should be out by the end of the year as well. I'm in the middle of editing that one, and I'm going to be sending it out to my beta readers here pretty soon. So.
I'll be one. That's right
I
up my
would
reading
love it.
alley.
I would love it.
That's right up my reading alley.
Yep. So that's what I primarily do. I've got a couple other books that are being written right now, and my publishers are so happy to see them constantly coming out, because then they can make more money. So I have to send a shout out to them real quick. Neely Worldwide Publishing. Look them up on Google. NeelyWorldwidePublishing.com. They're my publishers. I love those guys to death. They've done me so much good.
Awesome.
And yeah, I'm just so proud to be a part of their family over there. So yeah, if you guys are interested in being authors, they're always looking for submissions. So there you go.
First time Daryl contacted me, he was the one that got me on Late Night in the Midlands, the first one to contact me about it. He was like, "Have you ever written a book?" And I'm like, "I have a lot of dead novels on the shelf that never made it. They never made it to the end." So
I have quite a few
I tried
as well.
I tried. I'm going to try again. But.
So I, for the video watchers here, I actually have a copy of Haunted, Finding an Explanation for the Unknown right here. I've got tons of copies available. If you guys want to go to my website, originalworlds.com is where you guys can find all of the book information. Now, I'm also a show host. So as a show host, I've gotten deeply involved in the paranormal subjects, of course, because that's what I really gravitate myself towards. On Open Eyes, we talk a lot about conspiracy, UFOs, the paranormal, consciousness studies. You know, I try really hard with that show to give people hope, to give people something to grasp hold of in this really dark world that we found ourselves to be in. And, that's sort of my main focus with it. I want to be there as a service to people. I also co-host a show with my brother, Joe. We have Brothers at Arms. That one airs on Thursday nights at 7 Eastern. And it's a really good show, but we get more into politicking and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
In that show. And I also co-host a show called Money and Change with my partner, Stu Shear. He's a great guy. We talk all about the financial issues that are happening in the world. That one airs on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then I have the Positude Podcast with Maggie Hart. She's an amazing psychic, amazing woman. I love her to death. She's my sister from another mister. And that show is all about the positivity. Nothing negative on that show at all. We do a lot of comedy, a lot of music, a lot of positive stories.
It's a fun show. It's on before this show, isn't it?
It's on right before this one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and I love doing that show. We also have, my wife and I do a show. We do, we had it actually as a separate show, but because of all of the stuff that I've had going on, it's really hard time constraint wise to do that one. But we have another show that we do the first Friday of every month called Adventures in Autism. Again, my son Seth is severely autistic, and we've gone through a lot of stuff with him in the 16 years that he's been here. And what we do with that show is we focus on helping people with issues that they might be having with their autistic children, grandchildren, friends, all of that kind of stuff. The experiences that we've had sort of giving, this worked for us, this didn't work for us, maybe you can try this out or something along those lines. And we cover a different topic each time that it comes around. So we might talk about, the siblings issue. It's a horrible decision that you have to make when you have an autistic child as to whether or not you want to have a sibling with them, because you're running the risk. Are we going to have this again? We get the things along those lines. That was a choice that we made. And, we have our daughter, Crystal, as well, who's 3 years younger than Seth. And she's been fine. There's nothing with her. But there was a lot of travails that went on for that. So anyway, if you guys want to check out any of my shows, they're all available on my website, openeyesnetwork.com. I'd love for you guys to check it out. We've got all the archives available. And and I'm on YouTube as well, youtube.com/C/Open Eyes Network. All of my videos are there. I put out little one-off videos all the time, and lots of stuff is available there. I live stream all of my shows just like you do, and a lot of fun. So there you go. Me in a nutshell.
Well, part of you, before we get to the commercial break, I want to start getting a little bit about, in the book you started talking about being an empath. I really relate a lot to that because I've always described myself as empathic. I pick up on a lot of things from people. My scientific brain wants to say it's just I have a subconscious that can pick up on body cues and facial expressions other people don't. But there's things I've known that there's no way that's my subconscious picking up on anything like that. I just knew things. I've even swore to God, you can ask my wife her thoughts and others' thoughts. In my head. And it can creep people out. It can creep people out. It really can.
Especially when you first meet somebody and all of a sudden you pop out with something about their past and they're like, whoa, wait a minute. Been there, done that accidentally. I've kind of learned over the years to not just pop out with things, have that filter in place at this point in time, but barely.
Right.
Because sometimes it just comes through and you become that other person almost, for that short moment in time. Again, one of the reasons I think I've got it is because of the emotional traumas that people have. I like to sit privately with people. I never charge anything or anything like that. So, don't go there, guys. But, I never do anything like that. It's just, me having a conversation with people and I see the traumas that they've gone through in their past. It's before I lost my vision as much as I did, whenever I would look into somebody's eyes, I wouldn't see their eyes. I would see almost like a motion picture of the different events that have happened in their lives. And it was just like, flashes of information would come into me. And with those things that occurred, okay, basically every decision that you make is made through a filter of the accumulation of every experience that you've had, every advertisement that you've seen, every person that you've met, all of these things have an influence on every decision that you make, whether you realize it or not. It's all happening on a subconscious level. So one of the issues with that is that if you've had traumas that have happened in your past, those also are having an impact on what is occurring. So I take the example, and I go into this in my book too, When Good Relationships Go Bad. But one of the things that I experienced with my past is my second wife was very abusive, both physically and mentally. And I was with it for 5 years because I didn't think that I deserved any better. And so through that experience, I then, when I was finally able to go, I was then seeing everybody through that lens of, are you going to be somebody that abuses me? I was raped when I was younger, and I had to go through the same kind of situation with that as well. I had to deal with the traumas. Unless and until you can come to terms with the traumas and face them in such a way that you can integrate it into yourself as, maybe a scar, as something that you've gone through. Unless and until you can do that, that event is actually going to have control over your life. So again, as the example of the abused person that I was, if I let that situation continue, I would, she would take a sick pride in knowing that what she did to me had an impact on my life and the decisions that we made. So, she'd cackle with glee at the idea of it. So I didn't want to give her that satisfaction. You see what I mean? I had to figure out how to come to terms with it. So one of the things that I try to put across to people is, if you do have these traumas in your past, one of the things that you can do to try to at least embrace them better than, just ignoring it, bottling it up, and trying to move on with it, is to understand everything really does happen for a reason. There's a reason why it occurred, whether you realize it or not. And even if you never know the reason, it still occurred for a reason. And the important thing to know is that it's always, you learned something with that experience. So for example, with the abuse that I went through, I learned never to let somebody do that to me again. You see, I took that negative experience and I said, okay, thank you for teaching me that lesson. I'm never going to allow this to happen to me again. And I will teach my children to never allow it to happen to them. And I will teach everybody that I encounter never to allow this to happen to them. You see what I mean? So something good came out of it. That's what I try to do, is to try to help people heal from those traumas. And I do that with the empath abilities. I see where those traumas are and whether they're dealing with it or not. I kind of follow the Jungian idea of things. There's a lot of shadows that are there. These shadows will come out and they will bite you in the butt if you let them. If you don't actually face them. Those inner demons, exactly. So, and as far as the scientific kind of portion of things goes, Jason, let me put it to you this way. We're all energy. That's really all that we are. When you break down into the lower levels of us, there's not actually anything physically here. I'm not sitting in this chair. There's no desk that's in front of me. The microphone here doesn't exist. They're all made up of atoms. You see, it's all that finer molecular scale of things. It's all made out of atoms. Those atoms are so distant from each other that they may as well be miles apart if you scale them up to the life size, quote unquote. They're so spread apart that the atom itself, if you were to put the nucleus of it into the center of a football field and you put the protons and electrons into scaling it upwards into life size, those protons and electrons would be out past the stands, so far distant. So nothing really exists. When you break it down even further into the quantum level of things, nothing really exists ever, and at that quantum level, everything exists until a decision is made. And once that decision is made, it becomes reality.
The Schrodinger cat.
So we literally create reality every second of every day. So the way that I look at the empathic abilities in a scientific sort of a way for those that are seeking that kind of thing is that because everything is energy, you're able to sense the energy. You're able to pick up it's like a piano. Okay. If you have a piano and you pluck a string on a piano, it vibrates. That's what makes the sound. The string vibrates back and forth across the piano, and it bounces off the one side, bounces back, so on and so forth. If you're into music, you guys know this.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time that you pluck that string and it's vibrating back and forth, all the strings that are around it are vibrating in sympathetic harmony with that vibration as well. And we as empaths, that's all we're doing. We're just vibrating in sympathetic harmony with the vibrations that other people are having when they're feeling an emotion or when they're having a thought. That's all that it is. We're able to pick up on it and we're able to cue, but we have an understanding. Like when you feel anger out of nowhere inside of yourself, there's no reason for it. Nothing happened to cause that anger, but you see somebody down the street is angry or something like that, you know, there's your reason. You're picking up on what's happening externally to yourself, and you're just vibrating with whatever it is that's going on around you.
You know, the strongest that I've felt that is when I've been in a fight scenario with somebody. When we're both really angry, about ready to fight each other, I'm getting their it's like making me shake inside. Like
it's a feedback.
Like feedback. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. You're picking up not only your own anger is there, but you're feeding their anger, because as an empath, you're you know, broadcasting it out in a big way. They're picking up on it, and then they're it's like the Nikola Tesla experiment that he did when he put the vibrating thing up against a building and he's turned it on, and within a couple of hours the building was about ready to come down. It just kept vibrating and getting stronger and stronger because it was you know, the scalar energy was going back and forth. That's all that it is. You're literally doing a feedback thing. You're picking up on them, it's feeding you, you're sending it out, they're picking up on it, feeding it goes way out of control into a nuclear bomb really quickly, you know, just without any control. So as an empath, one of the things that you need to learn like really quickly is how to control your own self, and to realize when you're picking up on somebody else's emotions that they're coming from that external, and you can then, you know, sort of glom it off a little bit and say, okay, no, this isn't from me, and I understand that, so I'm not going to feel angry. It's sort of like you consciously have to decide it, you know.
Is there a way to like block it or stop it?
There is with me. Yeah. Oddly enough, I sort of do it through intent. I say, no, there's nothing that I'm going to allow to come in that's not of me. You see what I mean? And I do the same when it comes to spirits. Going into the spirit issue, I do the same when it comes to spirits, because as somebody that hears them and sees them and so on and so forth, again, they're very attracted to me because they want their stories told. They want that information to get out. Hey, I exist. I'm here. Listen to what happened to me. You know, this was my life, right? So I had to learn early on how to make it so that they did not come into my sacred space. You know, this is my house. Right. And I'm not going to let that happen. You know, if you guys want to come to me when I'm out and about, that's fine. We can set aside a time or something like that, and I can, you know, deal with you then. But you're not allowed in my house. You see what I mean? It's sort of like that place of business. This is my business. This is my home, and I'm having them separate. You know, you're not going to have it with there. There's only one that I've allowed to stay actually in my house here, and it's a cat. And the cat was actually here before we moved in. So she belongs here more than we do. So I haven't done anything to try to stop her from being here. But my cat absolutely loves her. They play with each other all the time and everything. Well, so, yeah.
The reason I've never gone down the path of trying to be like a medium or try to, because I've had experiences, you know, where I've done things that are very medium-like, you know, or communicated. I try not to, because I'm like, I don't want them to think I'm going to be their doorway to communicate. I'm not going to do it.
You don't want to be a psychologist. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of expectation that comes with that from people. If you say you are a medium or you have these abilities, I don't care to be part of my friends that are medium. I love them to death, but I just couldn't do it. And my wife even wards the house to keep him from following me home.
There you go. Exactly. There are definitely things that you can do like that. Yeah. I don't want to become, I guess, the best way I can put it, I never call myself psychic because I don't like the negative connotation that's associated with that word. So I never use that word. I'm just me, you know, and I've had these experiences. If you guys want to put a label on me, that's fine. You know, you can do that, but I don't label myself because I'm way too much to be labeled under one thing. It's just the way I look at it.
Well, we're going to roll into the second and last commercial break, and then we're going to talk more about your experiences and more about the
I'd
book.
love to talk to you about what haunted houses are and everything too. So
Yeah, exactly. We'd love to get into the basic, like they call it, ghost theory. All right, guys, we'll be back. Like I said, you guys on Facebook, you won't hear it. You'll be quiet for a few minutes because we play music on the Late Night in the Midlands radio network. But then we'll be back, and we'll open up the phone lines. We have a couple ways to call in on Skype and on by phone. We'll give those numbers out when we get back from the break. All right, guys, be with you in just a few minutes.
you got today. Changing the world starts with you, and changing you starts with changing the way you think. Late Night in the Midlands can help. Listen to all of our shows at latenightinthemidlands.com, because things really do need to change. The Late Night in the Midlands radio network is deeply devoted to you, the listener. We feel it is necessary to bring you all of the information that you can use in your life. Each and every day you will find something to listen to here. And whether you come away from the shows informed, inspired, or entertained, it is our passion. We don't bow to corporations, and we don't have handlers to tell us what not to talk about. We bring you everything. Late Night in the Midlands, however, is fully listener-supported. We need your help to stay on the air and to make sure that we get the bills paid. We need your help to keep the truth alive. If you feel that you have gotten anything out of Late Night in the Midlands, we would appreciate your support. You can become a subscriber and help us out on a monthly basis, or if you'd like, a one-time donation is fully appreciated as well. Every year, the average household in America spends over $3,000 on entertainment alone. If you could help us with just a tiny fraction of that amount, you would make all of the difference. Go to latenightinthemidlands.com and click on the subscribe button. Thank you, and as always, keep yourself informed.
Tonight on Paranormal Soup. We are talking with Ira Robinson, host on Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network, program director, and author. We're talking about his book, Haunted, Finding an Explanation for the Unknown. We're talking about, we started off tonight with a really amazing story about his childhood. I'm so, honored that he shared with us. I mean, this sounds like something from a Stephen King novel, though. It's really creepy. And we're going to talk about his other experiences in the paranormal, being an empath, talk about how his theories behind haunted houses. We're going to get all that. And we also have Skype call-in lines. There is the video Skype call-in line. That's Soup Live Chat, 800 Live Chat. You can call in that way. There's also the audio-only option, OOJBland, OO. I'll tell you it again. The Skype ID is OOJBland, OO. You can call in and ask your questions on that. There's also the phone number, which I better activate now. I just thought about that. There's a way you can call in by phone, and that number is going to be 219, almost forgot the number, 219-230-4444. Oh, totally forgot it. Hold on a second. It's been a while since we've had the phone lines open. 219-230-4444 that you can call in by phone as long as I turn it on here, which I'm trying to figure out how to do. There we go. All right, let's get back to our guest. Still there with us, Ira?
Indeed, and I don't feel so bad about you forgetting the name of my book if you can't remember your own phone number.
I can't remember my own phone number. But I've gotten it right lately. I have to pull it up and make sure I say it right.
I've definitely done that.
It's like the simplest title in the world, Haunted. I want to say The Haunting. Everything but the right title.
Exactly. That's all good, though. It's all good.
The phone lines are open, people, though. You can call in if you want to ask Ira. Just wait on the phone line. You'll hear us talking. When we call on you, that's when you can start asking your questions. All right. Do want to get into your theory on haunted houses.
Indeed. This is going to be a little bit. So, okay, essentially there's three different types of things that people think of when it comes to hauntings. The first type is commonly called a poltergeist, or the poltergeist kind of activity. With poltergeists, I have a little bit of a different take on it than a lot of other people do. I think that poltergeists primarily, not all, but primarily they are people that have had traumatic experiences. They've got bottled up emotions. They've got, a lot of things that are going on inside of them. And a lot of times, in fact, most of the time, it's actually children that are having it, and especially those that are coming in towards puberty. There's a lot of energy that's going on with that. And if they're also experiencing a lot of traumatic things going on in their life in some way, I'm not meaning like abuse by parents or anything like that, but, trauma can come in a lot of different ways. It can be, definitely. And that's usually how it ends up working out. But that is what I think a poltergeist thing is. It's sort of like a spiritual steam release valve of sorts, that they are trying to get rid of a little bit of that negative energy that they've got built up inside of themselves before they actually blow up, before they explode. And especially if it's an abuse kind of trauma situation, they might be absolutely afraid to try to, stand up for themselves or to do something to stop it. So it comes out in that way instead. Not all. Again, there are some actual spirits that are out there that do have the influence over the physical world, and they do have intentions to cause a little bit of chaos. But again, I think that's primarily what the driving force is behind a poltergeist, what would be classically described as that. Then we get into the more classic types of hauntings. Okay. Again, they're sort of subdivided into two. Okay, so you have on the one hand actual spirits. So an actual spirit that is present in the house or in the building, the business, the car, attached to an object, a person, any number of different things can be attractive to one of the spirits, and they will attach themselves to it. That doesn't mean they're stuck there, though, by the way. That does not mean that they're stuck there. And if you're a paranormal investigator, if you're a couple of teenagers out on a bender one night and decide to go out and mess around at the haunted house locally, and you piss the spirits off, they will follow you home.
Yeah.
They're not stuck there. They will come home with you, and they will mess up your life if you don't take care of it pretty quickly. But we can get into the spirits more after I get done with the other portion of things. So the other portion of things is what I refer to as an energy vortex. And I know a lot of people might have heard of something along these lines, but in the book, I go into really elaborate detail on what makes these things happen. We're surrounded by, I guess you could say the best way to put it is like a universal consciousness field. There's a field of energy that's everywhere. Some people refer to it as the Akashic records. Some people refer to it as the source. Some people refer to it as just, life. Okay. So, one way or the other, though. Yeah, the force. There you go. One way or the other, though, it's there. And everything that has happened and could happen and will happen is sort of stored like it's a hard drive. I always liken things into computers because I'm a computer geek. So I always describe things in computer terms. This is like the hard drive of the universe is this universal consciousness field. Everything is stored there. The potentialities, all the potentialities of every universe that possibly can
Multiverse.
Be stored right in that hard drive. So let's take an example of a house. And there's a house that's sitting there down the road, and it's a nice house. And in the house moves in a family. You've got a father, you've got a mother, you've got 2 kids, you've got 2.5 dogs and 1.5 cats. Don't ask me how they got the 1.5 cats, but
Cut one in half.
Schrodinger's cat says maybe
Schrodinger's
that's
cat, right?
Anyways, so they're a nice family. They've got no problems. There's no issues going on with them. There's no dysfunction that's happening there. They're just your average, Joe kind of family. Now, let's say, for example's sake, one day the father loses his job. They got downsized. Maybe he got fired because he messed something up. Whatever the case may be, he gets fired. He loses his job, and he starts down a pathway of despair. He's going out every day trying to find a new job. There's no jobs available. Troubles are coming up. He's not able to find anything, and no contacts are getting back to him with anything. His wife's starting to get more and more upset and getting on him every day about how he's got to go out and get a job. He's got to make money. The bills are coming up due, and his daughter needs new braces. And oh my God, what are we going to do? And so in despair, he ends up starting to drink. And in the process of drinking, he starts to go even more on that slide downhill. And eventually one day he comes home and he finds his wife in bed with the neighbor, and he kills both of them. Now that murder, that event leaves an indelible mark on that location. It puts a kink in the hard drive. And from that point forward, it's what I call an energy vortex. That's what's been created there, is an energy vortex. It's a place where the energies are skewed in a certain direction. They're skewed towards being a certain way. Now, let's take again, for example's sake, a family moves in, but it's only a mother or a man and a woman, no kids, no pets, no anything like that. They move into that same house later down the line. They don't experience anything. They have no paranormal experiences. Nothing ends up happening. They don't, have any hauntings or anything along those lines. They move out, and then another family moves in later. And this time it's a father, it's a mother, it's 2 kids. They've got a couple of dogs and maybe a cat. And
looks like Shortener.
Yeah, exactly. And
neither live or dead.
What ends up happening is that is sort of like the key to the pattern of the energy vortex that's been placed into that location. So the family doesn't have any issues when they move in, but then when they move in, after a little bit of time, the father might start to slip into some depression. There's no reason for it to happen. He just starts to feel more and more depressed. He gets on medication, and I don't know, everything starts to seem to fall apart. The family's starting to fight more and more. They're having more and more troubles going on. And, one day he comes home and he kills himself or he kills his wife or something, out of nowhere. And again, leaves an indelible mark on that energy vortex, and it creates even stronger of a one. Now, the reason why there was nothing that happened to that other family that moved in, the 2 that moved in, is because they didn't fit the pattern. They didn't fit the pattern of the family that was there before that created the energy vortex in the first place. So the universal consciousness field doesn't recognize them as being the key to unlock whatever it is that needs to take place. The replay. Exactly correct. So the other family, though, when they moved in, they match it more closely, and therefore it starts to open things up. Now, the reason why I went into that portion of things is because it's very important to understand why things end up happening the way that they do in what we go through in paranormal investigations. For example, let's say that you go to a hotel and you hear that at this hotel, every night at 3:00 in the morning, you can look down this certain hallway and you see an apparition of a housekeeper going down the hallway, and she turns into a room and she disappears and nobody knows who she is or anything along those lines. You might hear, "Oh, that was that lady that died 20 years ago in that hallway," or something like that.
Her name was Large Marge. No.
Yeah, Large Marge, exactly. Well, I want to see something really scary. Anyways, yeah, it's well, what's end up happening there is there's an energy vortex that's there. That's a replay. That's not a spirit that's there. That's a replay that's going on.
Kind of referred to like a residual.
Yeah, a residual, exactly. The way that you tell a difference between a residual or a replay, an energy vortex, and an actual spirit is if the same things happen over and over again, and especially if you start seeing them at specific times, like times of the year, maybe every 5 years, for example. Maybe there was a full moon and the stars were aligned in a certain way. That has an impact on the pattern that's created there, the key that's there, or the lock and the key that needs to be unlocked. So with all of that being said, that's the difference. You see or you look for those patterns, and if they're repeating, that's a vortex. That's a replay. That's a residual. On the other hand, if new things end up happening, if you're hearing a knock on the door one night and you're seeing some guy walking down the hallway and the next night, and you, I don't know, see your chair moved on the next night or something like that, that's a spirit. They're there trying to get your attention in some way. You see what I mean?
Right.
So these vortexes, the important thing to understand with them is that they have an influence on the people that are in those vortexes. So in the examples that I gave before, I gave them in that specific way because what we see happening is if the families move in to the house, or the people that are, start working the haunted location or something along those lines, whatever the case may be, right? If they're there and they're there for any length of time, the universal consciousness field, that pattern that's been marked on that field, it starts to overcome the patterns of the people that are now there, and it starts to overwrite who they are. You see, there's a difference between the meat suit that we're wearing and the soul that we are. They're two separate things. This meat suit that we're wearing, it's just machinery, and the psychology that we have, that's all a part of the machinery. It's all part of the mind. You see what I mean? The memories that we have, again, that's all part of the machinery, the mechanisms that are there. But that's not us. We're the users of the computer. We're the drivers of that meat suit.
The meat suit's the operating system.
Yes, exactly.
Man, I'm getting that echo real bad.
Oh no!
Every time I talk, I don't know what it is. Damn. We do have a caller on the line. I hope it doesn't echo with him because he's on my line. Is Zach?
Hey, Jason, how's it going?
Good. How you doing tonight? I know you always have really good questions for our guests.
Hi, Zach.
Yeah, man. I just have one question. Ira, it's very nice to meet you, man. I have an empath-related question. There are many stories that go around where spirits will manipulate someone's personality by chance. I mean, they might take someone who's relatively peaceful and do a complete 180 on their personality due to, I guess, the effect of the environment and the spirits manipulating their personality. My question to you is, for those people that are subject to this kind of 180 shift, would you consider them empaths, or sensitive to like the spirit world, or does it really not matter if a spirit really selects someone based on their sensitivity to the spirit world? Why or why not?
I do think that empath has a lot to do with it. They have a sensitivity to the electromagnetic field in some way, and they're being able to be manipulated. Again, I was just actually kind of going into that a little bit before the call came in here, where the patterns that we are, the person that we are, the personality that we are, is not the soul that we are. It's a separate thing. It's a separate mechanism that's there, and that can be easily manipulated. Look at what happens in mind control experiments. They're able to completely wipe the personality out and put in a whole new one in place, but that's not the soul that's driving the body. You see what I mean? The spirits, I think with what you're referring to there, Zach, are essentially sort of doing the same thing as you see in like the MK Ultra experiments and that type of thing, where they are wiping the person clean and putting on a new personality, so to speak. In other cases, it might be that they are involved with an energy vortex in the location that they're at, and it's overwritten the person that they were as well. So it might not actually be a spirit that's doing it, but it's the energy of the location that they're in that's influencing what's happening with them.
Oh, I definitely see what you're saying, man. Definitely see it.
Well,
that's kind of the best way I can describe it, I think.
All right. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to call in. Thank you so much, Ira, for answering my question, man. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome, Zach. I always love hearing you call into these shows, so thank you. I would have been horribly disappointed if you didn't call in for this one.
Thanks, Zach.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
You too. Yeah, I don't know why I'm getting that feedback.
I don't know. I'm not.
It goes
hearing
up and
it at
down. It comes up. It goes. If you're not hearing it, it probably is coming from you somehow. I don't know how.
That's aggravating. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on.
It's technical problems. Oh, jeez. You hear it too, don't you, Jamie?
I just popped back on, but I do hear it.
Yeah. A little bit of echo there. It's not bad, though.
All right. I get it really loud on my end. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But go ahead. You talk more than me because I'm the only one echoing.
Sounds like it's stopped now.
Yeah, don't jinx it.
Okay, well, as far as these vortexes are concerned, one of the things that I wanted to mention with it, as far as these patterns and that type of thing goes, I know that the example that I gave was a negative one, but there's also positive energy vortexes as well. Look at something like Woodstock. There was a huge event that happened there. There were, tons and tons of people that came there, and they all had this positive emotion about them, the positive vibe about them. They wanted to do nothing but, spread love, spread joy, spread happiness. It was a big festival, a lot of music, so on and so forth. Yes, there were some bad things that happened there too, but the positive part of it overwrote, much more. It was much more about the positive side of things. And if you go into that location now, if you go into that area now, you still feel it. You feel it in that zone. It's there. It's if you're consciously aware of it, you can definitely feel it. And even if you don't know where it took place and you end up entering into the area, you still feel it as well. Now, on the other hand, you can go into somewhere like Gettysburg, and there's a lot of big negative energy vortex that's surrounding that whole system. There are spirits that are there too, but there are definitely much more as far as the energy vortex goes in that situation. Now, one of the things I get asked a lot when it comes to these vortexes is, what can we do about them? What can we do? If I'm living in this house and I've got this energy vortex going on, what can I do to get rid of it? The best thing I can do to say, and I know this is maybe sounding a little bit like a cop-out, but it depends. It depends It depends on what caused the energy vortex to form to begin with. If it was something, mild, like an abusive kind of a situation was happening in the house, that might be a small kind of energy vortex that's there. It might have a little bit of an influence on things that's going on in the house, but it might not be very much. And to counteract that, you do nothing more than spread love. You live for love. You live for making people happy, and that balances it out in the end. You see what I mean? As far as if there was a murder that took place in the house, something really major, some major event that took place, what can you do to counteract a murder? I give birth in the house, you know, I mean, that really would be the only thing I could think, and how unique of a situation would that end up being to try to do that. If you're in a negative energy vortex and you're feeling like it's affecting your life, move. Seriously, there's not really going to be anything that you can do about it. Go. Because the energy that you're going to have to put out to counteract it is going to have to be the same amount as what caused it to happen to begin with. So, you know, it's a very dangerous situation. If it's a positive energy vortex, run with it. We need a lot more positivity in this world, to say the least. And hey, if you're having nothing but good vibes where you live, go with it, because not a lot of people have that, you know. So I'd stick around in that one.
I've recommended to clients before that to throw a party, you know, like have a bunch of positive vibes happening. Oh man, I'm echoing, man. But yeah, just throw a party, change the vibration of your environment. That can change what's happening if it's a negative, you know, feeling happening in the home.
That would definitely do a lot to help. Again, you know, putting out as much energy as you can. And if you can do that, you know, it might take a little bit of time to do it. You know, you might have to throw, you know, multiple parties, maybe have a year where every month you're throwing a really big bash, you know, and having everybody come around with a great vibe and, you know, spreading love and awesomeness, you know, then that would probably do a lot to help out. Yeah, definitely. And if nothing else, it might help to at least bring it closer to the balance. Even if you don't get it all the way there, it might be enough to help so that you're not being so dramatically impacted by that vortex being there. So,
and to remind people, you can call in. There's the 219-230-4444 line. Skype IDs are Soup Live Chat, 800 Live Chat, and there's also OO Bland OO audio only Skype line. You can call in and ask Ira questions. All right, so you know, how much do you do like to? I mean, getting into paranormal. Do you do paranormal investigations? Do you get into the kind of the ghost hunting thing?
I used to. With my blind butt at this point in time, I don't drive anymore. And if somebody wanted me to do that kind of thing, they'd have to come over here and drag my happy butt out to try to get it done. And I'm at the point in my life where I like to be sequestered away at home. I don't really like to go out and do anything, you know. It's just I don't know. It's just me, you know. I did enough partying in my younger years that at this point in time, you know, I'm just like, no, I just want to be here with my family. So yes, I used to do it though, a lot. And primarily it wasn't like me that was forming it, but other people were doing it, and they asked me to come along because they knew that I was sensitive to these things going on. And I would go along basically to help them to know whether or not there was something that was actually there, or if, you know, it might have just been one of these energy vortex kind of situations that was going on. And in that case, again, the interest, you know, from getting the photos or videos or, you know, the investigation itself is interesting. But if there's no actual spirit that's there, you know, what can you do, right? What are you going to get out of it in the end? Besides just knowledge, and that's good enough, you know. But for me, if there's not actually a spirit that's there, it's like, well, okay, yeah, this is cool, but I actually see these guys, you know. So it's not that big of a deal to me to just be like, ooh, the room got cold, okay, you know.
Well, yeah, you've experienced, you know, you've had enough experience in it that it doesn't, you know, phase you, you know.
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
a great way. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I would go along, I think, more as a party favor than anything. And I like doing it, you know, like there were times where I would go out with people and they would be like, okay, Ira, tell us where they're at. And I would see it, or I would, you know, be able to feel where it was at and say, okay, point your cameras over there and take a picture. This was like before the, you know, digital camera age, and oh my gosh, you know, everything is so easily available. But they would point their cameras over there, and invariably they would almost always get something out of it. So they always got, you know, a big kick out of having me along. So
we should bring you on an ITC collective night where we do the live spirit.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Definitely, I would like that.
That'd be awesome.
If you don't mind, I can tell you about one of the most dramatic paranormal experiences I had.
Yeah.
It's one that I have in the book. I have a ton of them in there. And by the way, in the book, I don't just go into like energy vortexes and my own personal experiences. In the book, I also go into really great detail. I mean, I really heavily have researched for many years about, you know, what makes the spirit world. What did the ancients think about the spirit world? How did they treat ghosts? What did they do when they would have a haunting happen? So I'll go into really great detail about, here's what the ancient Mesopotamians thought. Here's what the ancient Chinese, the Japanese, the Egyptians, so on and so forth. What did they think about death? What did they think about the afterlife? Sort of a compendium of an education in the paranormal for people. I also go into a lot of detail about things like Ouija boards and tarot cards, that kind of thing. The methods that people have used over the years to communicate with the dead. Are these actually things that people should be using? So I go into a lot of stuff as far as that goes. But I do have a lot of paranormal experiences that I've had in the book as well. And one of them, I like talking about this one because it was it had such a big influence on me that even to this day, I can sit here and distinctly remember what happened with me there. And it, at the same time, both scares me and makes me feel really good. So here's what happened. At one point in time, my family lived in Virginia. We moved from here in Indiana over to Virginia, and we lived on an old plantation. My mom was one of the housekeepers for the house. My dad did maintenance for the place, and I was young enough that I was able to, pretty much come and go out of what they called the big house to wherever it is that I wanted to go around, and it was right basically at the foot of one of the mountains there in Virginia in the Appalachians. So one day I was riding on my bike, and I ended up going into a really big field. And it was full of grass. The grass wasn't super huge, super tall, but it was, it was there. But I thought, hey, I can get through it, no problem. So I started to go through it, and I got about halfway through the field, and something stopped me. And I looked down at the pedals of my bike, and I saw that there were brambles that were coming up out of the ground, grabbing hold of the spokes on my tires, the pedals on the wheel that started to go up my leg. Started to go up my arm.
I'm not familiar with that. Brambles.
Brambles, sort of like a thorn, large, like a ivy kind of thing. Okay. Large, long, sort of tendril, sort of plants, I guess you could say, that have like large thorns on them. And so these brambles, these things came up all over me and held me in place. And once I was held in place, I'm screaming and hollering, bloody murder. I'm like, get me out of here. I'm 10 years oldish, so I'm like scared to death of what's happening to me here. And out of the ground, figures started to come up, and they were what I would say would be, black shadowish kind of figures. And as they came up from the ground, I started to feel these deep emotions of anger, despair, hatred, you name it, basically, it was there. If it was negative, it was there. And in my mind, I got a vision of people working in the field. They were black. They were working the field. I saw whips being cracked across their backs. I saw them getting screamed at, yelled at. I saw women getting raped, on and on and on. It was a whole gamut of things ran through my mind within just a few seconds of time. The vision stopped, and the brambles literally started to disintegrate away. And as they touched the ground, they vanished into the ground. And I was able to start moving again, and I'm crying, I'm bleeding. I still have scars on my body from where these thorns went into me. I was able to get back to the big house, and I got myself cleaned up. I didn't tell anybody about what happened to me because I was too afraid. I found out, though, later that the slave houses that were at the foot of the mountain, still there for people to come and tour at, were actually originally in that field, and they had been moved closer to the big house at the foot of the mountain for easier access to people. So the place that I was in was literally where these people lived and where they were kept while they were slaves at this plantation. Now, I came away from that experience terrified, as you can probably well imagine. And I still remember it very distinctly to this day. But at the same time, I feel like I have a very unique perspective, and I'm thankful to the spirits that were there for showing me their story, because I understand at a deeper level than I think most anybody out there could what they went through while they were there as slaves, because I felt their emotions. I saw their memories. They gave them to me as a gift to me. So I don't look at it as this was a traumatic experience to me and it's something that I should be afraid of and so on and so forth. Yes, it was a scary thing, but what they lived was a scary thing. You see what I mean? So that's sort of how I look at things when it comes to the paranormal. Most people out there feel very afraid when they encounter a spirit, a true spirit. They feel very afraid. They feel at their core being, oh my God, I've got to get away from here. Oh my God, what's going on? They're terrified. But what they might be having happen, or boy, I said that really grammatically incorrectly, but what might be happening to them is they might be just feeling the emotions that the spirit itself is feeling, because they're trying to get their story across to the person. They're trying to gift them with the knowledge of what their life was. And in those last moments of life, they're not always pretty. They're not always, laying in bed with your family surrounding you with love. Sometimes it can be very traumatic. And these spirits are still carrying those traumas with them, even over there. So the emotions that you might be feeling, thinking that they're from yourself, might actually be from the spirit, and you're picking up on it because the energy with them is so strong.
I've definitely witnessed that myself. We do have a caller on the line. We got, I believe it's Chandra. I'm the butcher of names. Chandra?
It's Chandra.
Chandra,
yeah.
Yep.
I answered anything close as long as it's not late for dinner.
All right.
My question is he, he's an empath. We were kind of discussing this a little bit in chat. How does he shield himself, or does he ever shield himself from the energies that he picks up?
I shield myself constantly from it, because if I don't, I'll go crazy pretty quickly. I had a lot of trouble when I was younger shielding myself, but I guess over the years, I've come into my own sacred space inside of myself. I've realized that I can, through basically intuition, not really the best way to put it, but through, what's the word I'm looking for? Intent. Through my intent, I can put a command out that this is not going to happen here, or this is not going to happen to me, or I don't want it. So like when I'm here in my house, I always say that I have like a bubble that's around the house. I know that there are spirits that want to come into that bubble, and I can feel them around, trying to feel into that bubble, and where can we get in? And, is there a weak spot going on here, and that kind of thing. But I don't let them in. I know that they're there, and I just acknowledge, hey, I know you're there, but I'm not going to deal with you right now. This is my time. This is me time. And if you want to deal with me later, that's fine. Right. But it's going to be on my own terms and my own, time. So, but that's the same way with the emotions. And I think with a lot of people that are out there that are what I would term like the natural empaths, or the people that are wild empaths that have this, ability, and they don't really know how to control it, and it's taking over their lives. They're, falling apart because they're feeling everything from around them. For those people, I really would tell them, hey, I understand, I was there myself, but until I came into the knowledge or the understanding that I can choose, I can make the conscious choice to say, yes, I feel this, but I know it is not from me. As soon as you can acknowledge that acknowledgement disempowers that energy from taking over your, taking control of what you're, trying to do. So that's a big part of it. Have that intent and understand I don't have to allow this to happen right now, or I don't have to allow this to happen at all. I can choose to understand this is not from me. So because it's not from me, it's not actually on me. It's not my business. I don't care, you know?
I call it staking dominion.
That's a good way to put it. That's a really good way to put it. I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm glad that you said that, because I think you do something very similar to what I do. I imagine the bubble and then white light and pushing away all the negative energy.
Yeah, exactly.
I've done that before too.
Yeah. One other thing I do too, just as a, I don't know, my own comfortable zone, my own comfort zone. I also go through every corner of the house, all around the four corners of the house. I lay out sage and I lay out tobacco, and I hold the corner, and I intend this bubble is going to start here. And I go to every corner, and then I go to the inside corners of those four corners as well and do the same thing. So I've got like sage and tobacco and, you know, all over the place.
I have sage. What does the tobacco symbolize? Just out of curiosity.
Okay, so the tobacco has been used for a very long time by Native Americans. I'm Native American myself. It's been used for many years by them to basically turn away the spirits. They gift the tobacco to the spirits as a way to say, okay, here this is. Take this, leave me alone. Is essentially what it comes down to. It's sort of like the concept of the the Day of the Dead, where they give the gifts to the spirits to leave them alone. It's sort of along the same lines. So I just do both. Gotcha. The sage is good, and then the tobacco is there as sort of an extra bonus for them.
Oh, that's interesting. Great. Thank you very much for answering my question.
Oh, you bet. I'm glad for you to call in. It's been a really great show, and hopefully people out there have gotten some knowledge out of it and learned a little bit and been entertained at least. So.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Chandra, for calling in.
Oh, thank you.
Have a great night.
You too. Bye.
Yeah, what you were saying right before Chandra called in about, you know, picking up spirits or whatever's emotions, basically. I have that happen quite a bit. It just happened the other night, and sometimes, like you say, it can be a little weird, frightening, or whatever. But I always leave with like a learning experience from that.
Yeah, if you look at it more as a gift than a terrifying experience, then you can sort of, I guess, come to terms with it a lot easier inside of yourself. That's how I look at it, anyways. You know, if I say. I look at that with negative experiences too. You know, again, the teaching things. You gave me a gift. If you gave me a negative experience, you gave me a gift. If nothing else, I'm never going to allow this to happen to me again. And I didn't know that before. So thanks. You know, that's the best way I think to really affect people is you thank them even for things that they've done that are negative to you. You know, thank you.
Lemons and make them into lemonade.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Well, one more time, give out the information where people can find your books and your show.
Sure. So all of my books are available at originalworlds.com. That's originalworlds.com. And I also have available there a lot of things to help authors out. I believe firmly in giving back to the author community. I love authors. I love writing. I love interviewing authors. If you're an author yourself and you've got some books out there, or you've got a book that's coming up, you know, give me a buzz, send me an email, feedback@openeyesnetwork.com. I'd love to have you on my show because I dedicate a lot of my time to helping out the author community. So I have a lot of tips and advice and writing prompts and so on and so forth to help authors out on that site as well. So again, that's originalworlds.com. You can also find all of my books available worldwide at bookstores, Barnes & Noble, every bookstore out there has got them. Amazon.com, just look up Ira Robinson. I'm everywhere on Amazon.com as well. For my shows, you can also go to openeyesnetwork.com. That's where my archives are at. I have all of my shows available over there. Literally hours upon thousands of hours worth of entertainment for you guys, and a lot of knowledge that I have to spread. So hopefully you guys will check it all out. And again, if you guys want to send me anything, I would love to hear from you. Feedback@openeyesnetwork.com is my email address. If you want to troll me, that's fine. I don't care. But, just if you got questions, if you want to find answers, if you need help, hey, send me a message. I'm more than happy to help out. I'm here for you guys. So that's my purpose here. Thank you so much for having me on tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on. I've been looking forward to having you on. I've been wanting to do a show with you, and I want to do more because one, I love your voice, and two, you have such a great, I mean, so many things I have to say I agree with that you said tonight, the things I've thought myself. So it, definitely there's more we could keep on talking about a lot of these subjects for a lot longer than 2 hours. I know that.
There's stuff I didn't even get to bring up. I'm hearing him say stuff like, oh my goodness, like nail on the head.
Thank you so much. I'm so deeply appreciative to be able to come on and be able to spend time with you guys. And if you found agreement with it, I that makes me feel even better. I love it. I'm so appreciative of it. Thank you.
Hey, like I said, the next ITC Collective show, you should come on. Let's see if the spirits want to see Ira.
I would love it. That'd be great.
Yeah, I swear, when you bring on mediums onto the show, like we had Katrina Cooper on, a friend of ours is a medium. And by the way, she's down in Texas right now, her and Rhodey. That have been on the show. I pray for them that everything's going to be all right with the hurricane and everything, and I hope they're doing all right. But whenever we have Katrina on as a medium, I swear it fuels those spirit communication. Like we get some amazing responses. So who knows what will happen when we get you on, Ira?
Could be very interesting. Definitely, I would love it.
All right, guys. Next week on Paranormal Soup, I have to look because I forgot to look. I always do this. I always do this in the show. Like, next week on Paranormal Soup, wait, let me look. I got to see. Oh, it's going to be Gavin Kelly. He's a paranormal investigator. We're going to have him on, talk about his investigations into the paranormal. Maybe some evidence. I don't talk to him yet if he's got some stuff he wants to present on the show. But we're going to have him on. Same bad time, same bad channel next week, Sunday, Paranormal Soup on Facebook Live and Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network. You can catch us 10 p.m. to midnight Central Time, 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Please share the show. Let everybody you know. Tell them about Paranormal Soup and Late Night in the Midlands Radio Network. Spread the word. That's how we get out there. It's how people find out. I love my audience. I love the chat room. I love these great conversations. Let's keep it going and bring more people into it. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. See you next week.